Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a book review on Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, the first book in the Last Hours trilogy. So if you didn't know much about this picks up with the kids of the Infernal Devices trilogy, starring Will, Jim, and Tessa, that trilogy, and it picks up with the kids from that. It picks up with the descendants of the characters in that book. And a lot of stuff in this also involves stuff that we learn about in Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy. So if you have not read The Infernal Devices and Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, I would suggest that you skedaddle, read those, read this, and then come back and discuss. So without further ado, we're going to get into the spoilers and the recap. We first start off with the flashback and all the Herondales, so Will, Tessa, James, and Lucy, they're at the Herondale Manor, and the Herondale Manor is in Idris, and around the Herondale Manor is a bunch of woods because we're around the Brosland Forest. And so one night, Lucy can't sleep, and despite, I don't know, just like staying inside, she decides, you know what, let's go for an adventure. So she jumps out the window, and she just starts running, saying that she's Snow White, and she's like, doesn't understand the premise of Snow White. It's not like Grimm's brother Snow White, but it's like Grimm's brother on steroids Snow White, so I guess you can kind of say that. But so she's running around the forest and she's playing in the woods, and eventually she's just playing so much that she forgets where she is, and she gets lost and she falls into a pit. And this is when she first meets Jessie, which we'll find out more information about later. So yeah, Jessie takes her and she takes her back to like the edge of the Herondale Manor. Now we jump to current time. So the streets of London have been very hush-hush. There have probably been any demons, but James and his friends encounter a demon and they're fighting the demon, but somehow James is transcended back into another land, and he's trying to figure out how to get there, and so he cuts himself to shock himself out of that dimension, and luckily everyone else was able to apprehend the demon before it could hurt James. So another thing we have to notice is that Matthew, because he is the son of the consul, which is Charlotte and Henry, he's got money, so he's always looking a little bit sharp, and he's got like this nice coat on, and we drop the importance of being earnest reference that we see throughout this entire book. And if you don't know, the importance of being earnest is one of my favorite plays of all time. I first read this in junior year of high school with Miss Ballard, and it's just a really great play. So if you read that, then it makes everything else so much more enjoyable with the dog Oscar Wilde and all these references. So yeah, read that because it's great. So because the demon exploded all over them, they are going to head to the Devil Tavern to clean up. So they've rented out this place in the Devil Tavern, which is basically, it's not a cesspool of downward order behavior, but there's some of it going on. And so they encounter Polly, who's this werewolf, and she's always like taking care of them. And they're talking about, oh, we just saw a demon, and she's like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, you think demons don't come around, and it's almost like they're scared. And then James is like, scared? Scared of what? And she's like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, scared of what, Polly? Scared of what? But she does not answer me. We meet Cordelia, who is the sister of Alistair, and they were both mentioned in Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy. We first get some background that their father, Elias, is actually in jail right now, and their job is to help clear his name to find a way to bring him back home. But they also need to integrate into society, which is why they've moved from like the countryside from their manor to London. So now it's just Cordelia, Alistair, and their mother, Sonia. Also at this time, we learn that someone else is coming to London, and that is going to be Grace and Tatiana Blackthorne. Even though Grace is originally a Cartwright, she was adopted by Tatiana. James is really happy about this because the Blackthorne Manor and the Herondale Manor are really close together, and so secretly James has fallen in love with Grace, and so when he finds out that she's coming, he's very ecstatic, of course. A plus of Cordelia moving is that she and Lucy have always wanted to be parabatai, and so they're going to train now, and they want to be best friends and X, Y, and Z. So they go for a walk, and they have James trailing them, but while they're on this walk, Lucy's like, oh my god, I overheard that James is in love with someone who's moving to London. And then she's like, oh my gosh, James was obviously talking about you. He's in love with you. And Cordelia's like, what? No, what? Oh, am I getting engaged? And I was like, Lucy, why would you spread false hope into this girl? Like, you don't know. Why would you say anything? Just shut up. But alas, the damage has been done. So Cordelia thinks that Jameson's in love with her, and Lucy thinks that Jameson's in love with her, and they all think it's gonna be like a happy old time. And yeah, we get more dad tea, and we find out that basically Elias was supposed to be in charge of this mission, and while on this mission, a bunch of Shadowhunters got attacked by vampires, and so they're holding him responsible. And there's something about the moral sword, and Cordelia thinks that the moral sword just hasn't been tried on him. He's like, I don't know whether they're not trying the moral sword on him. The moral sword will tell you all. So that is basically what she's trying to do. Cordelia's trying to make connections so that she can get someone to at least try the mortal sword on her father to prove her father's innocent. So they show up to the ball, and Cordelia's like, oh my god, James, I love him. And everyone also loves James because they think James is just so hot. And eventually James just pulls Cordelia in to dance on the floor, to dance. It's very majestic, it's very magical, until bum bum bum, Tatiana and Grace walk in, and James is like, what, dip? And Cordelia is about to be exposed for being left alone, but luckily Matthew, James Pervertai, also part of Merry Thieves, comes in, he swoops her up, and he's dancing with her, and he's like, oh, forgive my Pervertai, he can be a jerk. So that is the only saving grace that Cordelia has at that time. Also at this point, we meet Anna Lightwood. She is amazing. She has like little pixie cut, has a nice suit, you know, she's stunning on them. She's pulling, she's what they would call bohemian, and she's just living her best life, you know? But also, so even though James is enthralled with Grace, it's not just Grace and Tatiana that enters. There's also the boy that saved Lucy, and Lucy's just walks up to him and she's like, what are you doing here? And Jesse's like, oh, because she's not supposed to be able to see him. Jesse pulls her aside and he's like, I'm dead. I'm a ghost. Don't know how you can see me, but okay. And he's talking about how basically he's a ghost because when he died, his mother did some black magic to hold his last breath and to keep him in ghost-like form and X, Y, and Z, and how there's like the hope and potential of him becoming alive again. In this group of people that Cordelia is just meeting, we have Aradney, and Aradney, we find out, is engaged to Charles, and Charles is Matthew's older brother. And Charles is kind of annoying, well not kind of, is annoying because his mom, Charlotte, as we mentioned, is consul, and so he thinks he's going to be consul. And the reason he's marrying Aradney is because Aradney is a bridge stock and her dad is inquisitor. So he's like, this is a great marriage, a great alliance, that's why they're engaged. And so while Charles and Aradney are dancing, Aradney just passes out. James has fallen back into the alternate universe, alternate demon world that he was in, and he sees something black reaching out around Aradney, and then Aradney passes out. And so basically Cordelia is like, you know what? I think her corset's too tight. Let's just fix that. And as soon as they do that, she's alive. And at this point, I'm really upset because the only person who acknowledged that Cordelia had anything to do with the success was Tessa. And I was like, where is her award? She really just saved someone from death by corset. Like, is that not honorable? I guess it's not to them. We get this cute little Will and Tessa scene where they're in love, and I'm just like, yes, what's up? Yes, true love. Their love is so unspoken, we have to say so. So now we're gonna go to the picnic. The picnic is where all the youngins are. Cordelia has prepared this elaborate meal because obviously she's trying to let people in and become friends with people so she can make all these connections. So Anna's also there. So Anna comes over, and then Matthew comes over, and then the rest of the Merry Thieves come over, and Lucy's over, and they're just talking. So the rest of the Merry Thieves join Cordelia. Cordelia obviously pulls aside James, and she's like, yo, what you did was trash. You can't just like abandon someone. He's like, I'm sorry, I was just in love, X, Y, and Z. Like, you're still, you know, part of the gang. You're still part of the family, quasi-family. I still love you. No hard feelings, right? And she's like, yeah, sure, okay. I still love you, but okay, yeah, sure. But then Grace arrives with Charles. And I was like, that's sus. I mean, I guess, but like, that's sus. But anyway, so then James goes to Grace and they're just talking even more, and they're in love, I guess. I mean, their relationship was always kind of weird. But she also inquired about Cordelia. Grace was like, oh, remember X, Y, and Z about Cordelia, X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, what? It's just a very confusing relationship. But then a demon attacks in the day, and the demon attacks Piers, Barbara, and Aradney, and everyone's like, a demon attacks in the day? And so like, there's all of this poison that seems to be in the three, and they have to be put to sleep by the Silent Brothers because they don't know what's going on, and they're just trying to stop them from dying, and the only way it seems to be working is to put them in a comatose state. We go back in time to part of James and Grace's developing of emotions. I mean, it's obvious I don't like her. And it's not just because like I've read the book and I finished not liking her. I just never liked her. I think this was when I started to like really not like her. So basically, James is cutting the vines off of Blackthorn Manor, except it's hard because his shears suck. So Grace brings him new shears and they somewhat work better. But anyway, so that's how their relationship first began, I guess you could say. Yeah, over gardening shears. How romantic. So eventually James has told Grace about his ability, and Grace is like, you know what you can do? You can break into this box and get this bracelet I need that my mom has, and can you just get that for me because my mom won't let me have it. Oh, and at this point I'm like, you see how she's using you to get something done for her? That's manipulative. That's what we call a red flag. Everyone's trying to be treated at the infirmary, and Lucy and Cordelia are like, let's go check on Grace. But in Lucy's mind, she wants to talk to Jesse about what's going on and see if she can help somehow. In this flashback, we learned about how Cordelia saved Lucy, and that's why they call Cordelia Daisy, and also that James was kind of in love with Cordelia. And at that point, I'm like, I think you've picked the wrong one, James. Blackthorn's Tatiana and Grace are at the Chiswick house. The Chiswick house was the house of Gideon and Gabriel and Tatiana's dad before, he had demon pox and was turned into a worm and then killed. Lucy and Cordelia go to Chiswick house to see what's up.